Welcome, guys. Welcome to the first edition of Chroma Digitizing. Today, we're going to be making patches, and I've got a special code for you. It's Carl20. You can get 20% off of the first year of Chroma for the subscription model, which I highly recommend. It's really great. And on this episode, we're going to be making some patches, and I'm going to be showing you how to make this particular patch right here. This one. Can you see that? Check it out. It's a real simple patch. This is a beginner's class just to kind of get you started. I do recommend that you just keep practicing and eventually you'll get it. But right now we're just going to start. And with these patches, you can make all sorts of different stuff. And you can include different materials. We can make applique patches like this one with the Wonder Vinyl. We can make this type of patch. So these two are the same file, except this one I ran the background. This one I use felt as the background. And I'm going to demonstrate those two. And just so you could see the difference, for this patch right here, I had to do a double lattice or a full lattice, which means it's going to do horizontal fills, vertical fills, and then it's going to do the satin fill or the tatame fill over it to complete the background of this patch. So this patch is going to take a little bit longer to stitch out. But if you're using the felt, then you can skip all of this and just go right to the felt and just do the border, the letters, and the heart. So we're going to be creating this patch. I'm going to show you just how easy it is. So let's get started, all right? So we're going to switch over here to the computer. And let's see. All right, here we go. So for the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a circle. So if your patch is going to be a square or a circle, this is where you pick it. So right now we're just going to make a circle. So we're going to hit the ellipse button. And by holding down the Command or Control key, whether it's PC or Mac, we're just going to make a circle. So I'm just going to click and drag. It doesn't really matter the shape. And I'm going to hit F7. We're going to learn some shortcuts today. F7 selects your selector tool. If I come over here to the top right of my screen, you're going to see that it says the size in height and width. And notice that the maintenance aspect ratio is checked. We're going to change that to a 3. We're going to make it 3 inches because that's a really good size for, not 23, just 3. And click Apply. And that changes my circle to that. Now, in Chroma Lux, all you have to do to convert this to a complex fill is just right-click. You're going to go to Convert to and go to Complex Fill. Now, if you are following at home, this is going to be recorded so you can follow along later. You can slow it down and take your time, okay? So this is the first part of the deal. We're going to make this background. So if we were making the patch, this patch here with the background built into it, then that's what we would do. All right. Oop. There we go. So if we were making it without any type of materials, we would be using the background fill. And in these particular ones, we're going to use Madeira's Badge Master Film, which is a, you can see it. You can see right through it. This is it right here. This patch is made on a film. And then all you do at the end is you just pop it out and tear it out and you're done. All right. If you were going to make the felt one, you could still use the film, but you would just put the felt on top of it as if you were doing applique. So there's many, many different ways to do it. I think I have an example here of the same exact patch again, and this one was made with twill. So I used twill as my background. The only difference is on this one, since I ran a really long sheet, I had to just cut around the edges. So sometimes you'll see a little bit of the edge, but that's not a big deal. You can take a hot gun, like a soldering gun, and just kind of burn the edges off, and the patch is going to come out nice and good for you, okay? But the badge film makes it really easy because all you do is just pop them out, and they're really easy to go. All right, let's get back to the computer. So we created our circle here. Now, I want you to see something. I'm going to go to my shape tool, and this is the orientation of my stitches. So that means that when it's done stitching, the last complex fill is going to go in a diagonal manner. So let's run it so you can see what I'm talking about. And this one is a single layer. Notice it only did one underlay first. It's a single lattice layer, and then it's going to do the complex fill over. But notice how it's going in a diagonal manner. Okay. Now, if I were to make this patch like this, what's going to happen? Let's switch over here. What's going to happen is that the circle is, because I'm doing it diagonally like this, it's going to tend to crunch in. It's going to tend to crunch in and start looking like an oval. So when I sew my border around it, the border is not going to match the edge and I'm going to have a problem. That's where the push-pull compensation comes in. So depending on the angle of your stitches, so in this case, my angles are going diagonally. If I go to my push-pull compensation and I go to absolute and I make it 1.5 millimeters, watch what happens. The circle is going to become oval. Did you notice? It just got a little bit longer on the edges. So my original circle is where this line is, but notice how on this edge it got stretched out a little bit. And that's fine because that's what I want. I want that to happen so that when the patch sews, it's going to just shrink in and it's going to get taken in so that when I do my border, the border goes right around it. But before we do the compensation, we're going to create the border first. So since I have this, I could change it, the angle lines, so they can go horizontally. Sometimes it's just better to get that perspective and just click. So now it's horizontal. So with Chroma Lux, all I have to do is click, right click. Let me go back to my F7. Remember, we're learning some shortcuts today. F7 clicks your selector tool. It kind of keeps you from going over here. I'm going to right click and utility and create a border. Now, this is a steel border. And the beauty about this border is that I can make it wider or narrower, depending on what I want. So on this one, I'm going to make it 3 millimeters wide. And notice when I click apply, it's going to make the border nice and wide for me. Now, I'm going to change the color of the background just so that we can see what's going on. Okay. If I go to the non 3D view, you can see that the white border is right at the edge of the red circle. So right in the center, it's a 50-50 split between that. So if I click on the steel stitch, you'll notice that it's 50-50 right here. When you're doing these type of things, sometimes 75 is good because you want the outer circle, the border, to just kind of come into a little bit more, and it's going to bite and bond to the patch a little bit more, okay? So I hope you guys are following me so far. Do we have any new Chroma users out there? Let me know. We can take questions. I'm taking questions. This is a live, so go ahead and ask away, and we'll make sure that I'll try to get all your questions answered. So let's go back to the 3D view. All right, so now we have our base and we have our border. So once we go to our base, if I am making this patch from scratch with no material at all, such as the badge film, I would want to go to the underlay section and notice how this is a perpendicular underlay. I'm going to go to a full lattice. So the full lattice is going to create that crisscross so that I can have a nice solid base for my patch. And then I'm going to click apply. Now you're not going to see any change, but once we run that, you'll notice, let's go to the white. It's going to do a diagonal underlay. Then it's going to do another diagonal underlay over that. And then it's going to finish with the tatame fill on top of it. All right. Now I like to make my tatame fill start from one end and go to the other. So if I go to my shape tool, I'm going to click here and notice the start and stop point are way down here. So I want my start to go to the bottom and I'm going to have my stop point go to the top, which means when I run this, let's run it again, you'll notice that it's going to do my diagonal fill first, then my other diagonal, and finally it's going to start from the bottom and work its way up. So it's kind of a smooth path filling the screen up as we go. So that's what I want to see. And then after that, it's going to make the border. And notice how the border is being split a little bit here, okay? Now, we know there's going to be some push and pull, and we haven't adjusted for that. So on the white part, now that I have my border built in, I'm going to go to the pull compensation, put absolute, and make it about 1. Let's make it 1 and see what happens. Boom. So if I zoom into this, you'll notice that the white border is barely peeking out of the red right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but let me switch the white to a dark color. And you can see that the black is just peeking a little bit, but notice how on the top it isn't. That's because I know when I sew the black part, when the black underlay or the complex fill embroiders, it's going to naturally just kind of squeeze the material together. And so that's why I want to go just a little bit more so that I can compensate for that. If you didn't have this, the feature, the pull compensation feature, all you would have to do is go to your path tool, your shape tool, and just take this little marker here and just drag it over. So you would take this and just make it bigger, just like that. Now, this is an exaggeration, and if I right click, you'll notice that it gets bigger. Obviously, you're not going to do this, but this is going to, this is how you would do it manually. So sometimes when you're embroidering, you want to kind of switch it up a little bit, and you don't want to, if it takes too long to go to the pull compensation and write a number, and that's not the number that you like, you can always just take it, pull it, drag it out, and it almost does the same thing. So essentially, you're creating your own pull compensation. So let's go back. All right, so now we have our patch. This is the base of our patch. In the center, we're going to create that heart. So super easy. And notice how we're creating a system where we want to do the bottom, the base of the patch first, then create the border. Anything you add to that patch will take it and make it come a little bit smaller still. So you want to be careful how you layer things over. And on my density of the patch, I have 40. Remember, it's doing that full lattice, so it's going to do all these vertical, the horizontal, diagonal, diagonal, and then the horizontal fill. So I'm going to be covering the patch. It's going to be a nice thick patch. So we're going to go to our little shape tool here, and we're going to pick a heart. It's already been digitized for you. We're going to pick a heart, and we're going to click the Command key or the Control key, depending, and we're going to drag it and make the shape that we want. So let's make it about that big. That's fine. Now we can hit F7, which is clicking. It's the same as clicking the selector tool, and we can just center it onto there. Now, if we don't know if it's the right center, we can hit the Command key, select the complex fill as well, and then just center them. And it'll center itself to the fill, and we're good. So now let's go back to our heart. And if that doesn't work there, I can just pick it there because sometimes it's thin. So in order to convert the heart to a complex fill, I can just right click, convert to complex fill. Boom, it's easy and it's in red. Now, the fill type, this is a standard tatame fill. We could switch it up to make it look like different things. So we have a random pattern. We can make it a smooth pattern. Make sure you hit apply every single time. Let's see what else. We can do a zigzag pattern. That looks kind of neat. You know, I kind of like that. I think that's kind of cool. So we can keep the zigzag pattern. One thing I want you to take a look at is look at the edges of this complex fill right there. It's a little jagged. It's a little rough. So if I were to do just the complex fill without a border on this image, remember we're trying to keep the patch light. We don't want it to get too heavy. You can go to your column tool, and under jagged type, we can, oh, never mind. It would be in the settings one. Instead of chiseled, we're going to go to square. Now, when I hit apply, take a look at what happens here. It's going to smooth everything out and make it perfect. So now we really don't even need to add a border to this, okay? We can just leave it just like it is, and we're ready to go. If we did want to add a border, well, man, it's so easy on Chroma Lux. All you have to do is right-click, Utility, Create Border, and there it is. It does it for you. And because I am creating a border, I want to make sure that when my heart sews, it will crunch in a little bit because that's just the nature of embroidery. You've got that push-pull. So I'm going to find out what the direction of this heart is being made. And notice the heart is being made diagonally. So let's take this and make it horizontal. I'm also going to change my start and finish points. I want it to start at the bottom of the heart and work its way towards the top. Okay. And I'm going to click, and now it changed it. Now notice how it did change the zigzags. If I wanted the zigzags to be up and down, I could just take this and make the direction of the stitches go up and down as well. Let's see what happens there. So there it is. That looks kind of cool. And because I'm doing the complex fill and the border at the same time, it gave me this little jump stitch. So if I go back to my complex fill, notice my ending point is here. If I go to my border, my end is there. So I can just take that. We can have it start. It's going to start at the bottom. Let's have it start at the end here. And we'll also have it end at the same time. So once we click, There it is. You're not gonna get that jump stitch. We're not gonna have to wait for the machine to cut. It's gonna be just fine, just like that. I would like to border just to be a little bit thicker though. So with my, and that border is just a steel tool, and I can just change that to 30 for my density, and it's gonna be a nice and tight little circle, just like that. Okay, so now we have the makings of a really nice patch. Let's see what the density on this border is. So by clicking it, it's still at 40. Let's make that 30. And apply. Always click apply. Many times you forget to click apply. Now, one thing people get confused is when you're looking at this image on the screen, you can see the black peeking through. Remember, what you see on your screen is not what you're going to see on the patch in real life. So don't go by what you see on the screen, because sometimes people might zoom into this screen so much and they're thinking, oh my God, look how loose this stitch is. I need to make it denser. No, that's not what's going to happen. Always look at your screen in the scale that it's supposed to run at. So in this case, if I were to hold a ruler to my screen, this would be 1 inch. So if you kind of take a look up there, that's going to be 1 inch, and that's exactly how big it's going to look. So notice how it's looking really nice like this. It's a lot of detail. Now let's put the text. We're going to go to our text tool and just click here. And I think I have this where I can set it up where I can type on the screen. So we're going to put made by Ricoma in all caps. And we're going to hit enter because we want to set the next line and then with love. Just like that. So now we're going to click apply. Now that's not the text we're going to use. We're going to use a different text. If that is the text we wanted to use, we could use it. It's not a big deal. So let's say we wanted to use this particular text. We're going to go here under type. Notice how there's a normal type. And here I'm going to go to circle and click apply. So now it's going to make a really big circle. But that's a little bit too big. If we select it, we can take that and bring it down to about 3 inches. And you want to keep the perspective on. Notice maintain aspect ratio is still on. We can just go here. And now that's 3 inches. And if we take it, we can drag it and see how it fits on top. So it's still a little bit too big. So we can leave it right on top of there. And let's make it even smaller. Let's go 2.5 and click apply. And that's looking pretty good. If we wanted to make it a little bit bigger and we didn't want to mess with the numbers, we could just take these little corners and just drag them out a little bit, make it a little bit bigger, and recenter it. Let me recenter this whole thing as well so we could see. Okay, so we could recenter it. If we selected the other items, we could center them as well. If we want the space in between that text to be a little bit bigger, notice it's kind of scrunched up. I want to spread it out some. I can go back to the text tool while this is aligned, and in the space, I can put 10, for example, and click apply. And that's going to make it a little bit wider. If I want my letters a little bit thicker, I can take the center circle and just make it just a little bit bigger. Oh. Which one is it? This allows you to make the letters spread out a little bit more. And here we can make the letters a little bit thicker. We're going to scrunch them down. And then when we select it, we're going to bring it down just a little bit more. Just like that. All right, so those are different ways of manipulating the text to make them go right around the circle. So we can go back to the text tool, and we could take these and just make them go just a little bit bigger so they fill up the circle nice. Beautiful. So in this case, we are ready to go. We're ready to take this to the machine, and we can run it, and that's how you make that particular patch. Now, if I were to run this on a felt backing, there's something that I would do. So I'm going to take I can create another circle. Let's go to the ellipse tool. And we're going to go to, we're going to hit the command key or control key and just make a circle. We're going to hit F7 so that we can select it. And we're going to make that circle 3 inches again, same thing. And we're going to click apply. So now we have a 3-inch circle, and let's just kind of make it white so we can see it. over here. And we're going to put it right on top of this area here. And you can see the white area. If I were to make this into an applique using the felt, I could create the circle just like I did here. I can right click. I can convert it to a run stitch. And what that's going to do, that's going to act as my placement stitch first. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy. I'm going to right click and paste. And on this one, the one that I pasted, I'm going to make it 2.8. So now notice one of them is inside the other. Actually, let's make it 2.9. You're going to see exactly what I'm doing right now, 2.9. So the first, and let's color this one green. We're just coloring them different so that we can see the differences between the stitches. Now, if I run this without this background, so if I were to take this complex fill background and just hide it, this is what I would be embroidering. But I want this run stitch to go first. So this is going to have to go before everything else. We're going to put it behind it. And we're going to have to also put it behind the green. So what's going to happen? When we run this design, we're going to have a placement stitch, which is the white stitch. It's going to tack or tell you where the circle is going to be. So you can take your felt circle, the 3-inch circle that you've pre-cut, put it on your work surface, and then it's going to show you exactly where the circle is going to be, where, so you can align your felt to the hooped material. And then you're going to hit play again after you've placed your felt. You're going to hit start, and then it's going to tack down the felt to your material. And once it does that, it's then going to start doing the border in a nice satin stitch and cover it all up. And once it's done covering it all up, then it's going to do the heart, and then it'll do the letters, the border, and then the letters. So these things are super easy to make, but depending on the material that you're going to be embroidering, that will determine what steps you take. Now, I wouldn't have to redigitize this if I wanted to switch it for felt, if I wanted to switch it to the Badge Master or any other type of material. I could just skip a step. So on the embroidery machine, you can always just skip that color. You can always fast forward to the next color and just skip it altogether. And so you don't have to recreate the stitches all the time. Don't forget, you can use the Carl20 code to get 20% off your the Chroma for a year, for the first year. So do we have any questions right now? I'm kind of seeing Quintana Browder. All right, she saw that. She's going to contact them. Yes. Any questions so far? Let me see. Who's got questions? So let's keep going. Now, in Chroma, there's a really cool thing in Chroma Lux. So if I were to select my border, did you see how I just showed you how to create a applique stitch by making a circle and making the bigger one as a placement stitch, the smaller one is your tack down stitch. But that was me doing it by hand. Now, Chroma does it for you. So if I were to select the outside border here, this red border, I could right click it and convert to, look at right there, applique. If I click convert to applique, it's going to do everything for me. So right here in the applique, if I were to hide these two that I made and we run it, it's going to start with, we have to put that beneath it. Let's hide the red because we only did the red part itself. Let's hide that. There you go. So for the applique, we wouldn't be doing the black border because obviously we'd be using some type of felt or twill. So when we run this, it's going to do the placement stitch first. It's going to do the tack down stitch. Notice that the placement stitch is a little bit bigger than the tack down stitch. And then it's going to start and make the border. So I did it manually, but Chroma Lux does it for you automatically. It takes all the guesswork out of it. It does it for you automatic. It's just like this song. It's automatic. You guys know that in which one it is. I'm dating myself, obviously. All right. So those are ways of making these patches really quick. So Bebop's house asks, can I use any type of material for applique or it has to be felt? When it comes to applique, you can use any type of material you want. You can use vinyl, you can use felt, you can use any type of fabric that you want. Let's say you have some special fabric that you want that it's got some cool designs on it and you want to use that as applique. You can use anything like that for applique. Patches, you can make patches out of any material. The more sturdy the material you make it out of, it will last longer, obviously. But most of the time, you can make a patch. You can make a patch on backing like this. So I could take this and just cut the backing off of it and burn it with a soldering iron and get the edge nice and clean and put the adhesive on the back of this, sew it, or just glue it onto my shirt or anything, and it'll last a long time because this is all thread. All of patches is a bunch of thread. Now, the decision you have to make is if I were to make this patch right here with the background, it's going to take me about 20 minutes, let's say. If I were to make this patch with the applique, it'll take me 5 minutes. So it all depends how much time you want to take and also what feel and what look you want to do. If you're doing a plain background like this, well, you could use the twill as your background so you don't have to use any extra thread for that. It would make the patch run a lot faster. If you want to have the color, if you have a special thread color that you want, if you want to make it glow in the dark or whatever, then you would use your complex fill on the background to make the background. And if you want to make it out of felt, well, you can make it out of felt. And it's going to be just as good and just as strong. So it all depends what feel you want. So if you have Chroma Inspire, Kathy Womack, you can do many of the things that I just showed you here, except for the automatic conversion. For Inspire, it takes a couple extra clicks, but you can do all of this on Inspire. But again, it just takes you a couple extra clicks. So for Inspire, I don't have Inspire on this computer, but you would have to create your circle, and then you would have to change the fill type from outline to fill. Click enter. It would do the fill for you, and then you would convert that to artwork, and it would automatically convert it to a complex fill for you. So those are the extra steps you have to make. And for the border, Inspire unfortunately doesn't have the steel stitch. You would have to create the satin stitch yourself, and you would go to the satin stitch. And in this case, I'm going to make it blue so you can see. So if I wanted to create a border around this, I could just go around. I'm going to hit my command key to create a curve, and I'm just going to go like this. And again, this is just a little bit, it just takes a little bit more time. You can do it, but Chroma Lux just makes it so much easier. When I got Chroma the first time, I just went for Lux, and that was when I was a customer. I wanted all the features. And the cool thing about the Chroma Lux subscription model is that you also get all the new updates and you can make new things. So that was how I would make that complex fill. Notice how there's a couple edges that are a little bit thicker than others. I could go and fix that, but it can be done. It just takes a little bit longer, and you might have to do some tweaking later on. So I could have zoomed into this really big so I could have gotten it right on the line. But that's one way to do it. You can create two circles and just bounce the lines back and forth. Is there an upgrade path to Lux? Yes, you can upgrade your Chroma Lux to, or you can upgrade Inspire to Lux. Listen, I highly recommend it. Um, I'm not a big gadget guy, but I know good stuff when I see it. And when I was before I was an employee of Racoma, I was a customer, and I went and I got Lux. I read the different things that it did, and believe you me, I've used all those features, and they're incredible, and they've saved me so much time. And it's a really incredible thing to do. Okay. Can we do a video on knockdown stitches in Inspire, the Mass Senpai? Yes, we're going to be making a whole bunch more videos for Chroma, so just stay tuned to the channel. We've just launched a video just a couple days ago. I think was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Which one was yesterday? The net blocker? The steel. Yesterday, I spoke about the steel stitch and how cool it is and how versatile it is. You can do so many things with it. We've got one coming out next week that's going to be about net blocking, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be really cool. And we're going to be making videos on all the features of Chroma so that you can see and learn how to do all of them. And we will be comparing Chroma to Inspire just so you can see how to do it. And I will be showing you how to do it on Inspire. But man, when you switch to Lux, it's a whole new ball game. If you want to spend a lot of time digitizing, then you might think that updating to Chroma Lux would be a better job for you, or it's a better investment because it saves you so much time. The 30 minutes that it's going to take you to inspire something to digitize something in Inspire, it'll take you maybe 10 minutes in Lux. So it's that much faster. And time is money. So let's say we were going to make this into a square. So let's delete all this. Let's say we're going to make this into a square patch. So this is something that I did the other day that was really cool. I created these name badges. So I'm just going to make a oh, you see I'm holding the command key. That's why it's a square. But if I let go of the command key, it turns into a rectangle. So let's say we have this square or rectangle. We're going to hit F7. We're going to go to the measurement or the transform. And here I want to make this 2x3. It's almost 2x3, so let's leave it like that. And we're going to click apply. I want to create a complex fill. So I made these name badges and I sublimated on top of the name badges. So I created this. I'm going to convert it to a complex fill. I want to change this to the double lattice or the full lattice. I call it double lattice because it's actually two, but it's called the full lattice because if you do only one lattice, it's just going to give you one lateral. But when you do both, it gives you both of them. So I'm going to click apply. I'm going to right click. I'm going to convert or utility, create the border of my patch. And here we can go to our push pull. And I'm going to go to absolute and let's just do 1. So usually that's pretty good. That takes care of it. So it made the white turn or the border get a little bit bigger for the push pull to accommodate. And let's also do it for the actual patch itself, the base of the patch. So you could do both. Most of the time you don't have to do both. So that made both things a little bit bigger and that's perfect. So I'm going to convert all this to the white color. And now if I embroider this, I can actually sublimate right on top of it. Why? Because you can sublimate on polyester. We're using polyester thread. And then I wrote down people's names. Let's make this one for Jorge. So we're going to go right there. We're going to click it. Let's pick a nice script type font. Let's see. This one's kind of cool. Click OK. So now we've changed it. We can hit F7, which will switch it to the selector tool. And now I'm just going to grab this and put it right there. So when I embroider this, I'm going to embroider it with the white thread, with the black letters. And this is just like a patch. It's no different. And I would sublimate right on top of this. So when I sublimated it, I'm going to draw it on here so you can see what it looks like. But when I sublimated it, I took it. Oh, hold on a second. What am I doing here? Let's go to the applique. And when I did the sublimation, I pretty much created that little red stripe with the sublimation. Right click. And then on the top right here, it said, hello, my name is in red. Okay. And let's make the Jorge go back to the top. So if I click this, I can hit my command and bring it forward. And the blue would have been represented by the red color, like this, by the sublimation. And I thought it looked really cool because the letters looked like they were handwritten, and here it was sublimated and it said, hello, my name is. So this is a patch. I just created another patch right here. It's super easy. All you need is a base and a border for a patch. All right, let's say you're trying to create a patch out of a name itself. So let's take all this off and let's just create a patch for the name. Let me go back. Let me delete that. Delete and delete. Let's say I wanted to create a patch out of just this. I can select it. I can right click and I'm going to create utility and create an outline. So I'm going to create an outline of the name and I want it to be a little bit wider than the name. I'm going to do a preview. So this is the outline and I'm going to click OK. So now I've got this outline. I'm going to right click and I'm going to convert that to a complex fill. And I'm going to right click utility and create a border. And now I'm going to take the name part and put it in front of my complex fill. So there I have created a patch for Jorge. Now, remember, the colors really don't matter on my screen because whenever you're embroidering it, you can pick whatever colors you want. So there are many, many different ways of creating these types of patches. We can create a patch that looks just like this. There's many other ways. Let's see. Can you do a demo using Chroma Inspire? I think I could switch it. Yeah, I think we can. Can we do it? Yeah, let's do it. So let's go here for a second while I switch over. Let's go here. We're going to go to Inspire. So we're going to show you the difference between the two. All right, and we're back. So now we're at Inspire. So this is the Inspire version of Chroma. And notice on Inspire, a lot of these little tools are kind of faded out. They're hidden. You can see there's a little crown on there. That's for the Lux version. So let me show you how to do this with Inspire. So we're going to take our text and let's put Jorge because Jorge wants his patch. So there we have our text. Let's hit F7. The controls are the same. Let's put that right in the middle and let's zoom in a little bit. So how would I do this on Inspire? So I have here, I'm going to draw the outline kind of like what I did with with Lux. Here I cannot right click and look, I can't do anything. I can't do right click. I can't convert it to anything. So here I have to do it manually. Not a big deal. So one way to do it would be for me to select my complex fill and let's pick the white color. And here I can click around like this and create my border. Notice the edges are jagged. So let's go back. I'm going to hit the Command or Control key so that I can keep this going around like this. So this is one way of creating that border. And I'm trying to keep myself equidistant away from the letters as I draw this border. Oh, when I get to that point, I'm going to click without hitting Command. And now I'm back on the Control key. No control, control, no control, control. And I'm just trying to keep a nice border around it. So notice I'm still doing it. It's just taking me a little bit longer. But you know what they say? Ain't nobody got time for that. There we go. And I'm going to right click and it's going to do my complex fill. So now I have my complex fill and I'm going to take the Jorge and drag it on top of the complex fill. So now it comes before. So there we have our little patch. Now let's fix the white. Let's see if we can fix the edges. You see, Chroma Inspire doesn't have the chiseled or the square. It doesn't let you control all that stuff. You have to do it through Lux. But essentially, this is how we could create that patch. Now, if you wanted to make a border around this with the steel tool or with the Lux doing the conversion for the border, you could do this real easy. But since we don't have that, I would have to manually input that stitch myself. So I'm going to just start. I'm hitting the Command key so that this can be in a smooth pattern. See that? And I'm just going to do my satin stitch around it. Notice it's just taking a little bit longer. Now, the thing with this is that once I put my satin stitch down, I can't make it thicker or thinner. Whatever I do now is going to stay. Whereas if I had the steel tool, I could control that. So here I'm constantly just going left and right, left and right. And one thing that I'm doing is I'm also trying to stay perpendicular to the edge of the patch so that my stitches come out perpendicular and real nice. So this is a little bit more time consuming and I won't be able to make it smaller or bigger like in Lux with the steel tool. But this is how to make a simple patch with Inspire. It can be done. You just got to take your time. That's all. Let me see if I could read a question while I'm doing this. Let me multitask. LOL. House agreed. What do you agree with, Bebops? That you ain't got time for that? If you got time for that, let me know, because I sure don't. So the features of Lux just save you so much time, man. That's all it is. It just saves you so much time. It's worth it. And with the subscription model, you're always getting the latest upgrades, the latest updates, and everything on the software. Somebody said offset expand to is the great cheat. Yeah, it is. The steel tool lets you do the offset. With this, however, you can't, because whatever I do now, that's it. So now I'm going to come in and just lock it in, right click, boom, and there's my border. I can make it more dense so that it's a little bit cleaner. Let me make sure I got to hit F7 so I can select it. There it is. Let's go to 30, click apply, and now we have our border with Jorge on it. He's going to be so happy. Okay. If I want to make this bigger, I can select the entire thing and just drag the corner and make it a little bit bigger, and there we go. So now he's got a nice little patch with his name on it. He's going to be super happy. So when you do get Lux, or if you ever need to know how to use the software, you can go to the help menu, and we have the manuals right there. You can always click on the manual. I highly recommend that you read it. There are so many things that Lux can do. We're not even scratching the surface, but for creating patches, this is one way. Okay. There's many different ways to create the patches, and this is just one of them. Let's keep answering some questions. What do you guys want to see? What else do you guys want to see? So this is a very basic introduction to patches. So essentially what you need for a patch is you need a base, and then you need an image to go on top of it. Now, one thing that you want to keep in mind is you don't want to start layering images. Let's go back to here so I can switch back to Lux, okay? Let's come back so we can switch to Lux. Perfect. All right. So one thing that you have to keep in mind when you're creating patches, or just embroidery in general, is you don't want to start laying one layer on top of another, on top of another, on top of another, because then your patch is going to get really thick. So sometimes you want to create some holes, okay? So we're back on Lux. We're back to Lux. So let's make that same circle again. So the circle, this patch that I did, the base and this little heart, you could tell that it's a little bit thicker in the heart area, but it's not very significant. It's not going to make a big deal. Now, if I were to layer another color on top of it and make it even thicker, then I would start getting into trouble. So let's pick our ellipse tool again, and we're just going to hit the command key. So Kathleen Greer says, do you use fray check after making the patch? Okay, so if I were to if I were to make a patch like this with twill as the background, and I had to cut the edges of this patch and then maybe burn them, yes, I would use fray check for this, because there is a potential for you to cut the satin stitch border and cause a run. So that's a possibility. If, however, you use the Badge Master film, you don't need to worry about the fray check, because the patch is literally going to just pop out like a perforated, like just a little toy. You just pop it out, and that's it. The patch is done. You don't have to do anything. The only thing you may want to do is take a heat gun and just blow it on the edges here, because if you look really carefully, you could see some slight, let me put it down so maybe you can see it there. You could see some slight little edges where the plastic ripped off. Okay, but if I hit it with a heat gun or even a lighter, just very lightly doing it, that'll burn away, and it'll just shrink and compress, and you don't have to worry about it. So if you are making patches like this with a backing or a twill that you have to cut it out of, then you may want to have the fray check on hand in case you nick it and you need to correct it, okay? Otherwise, if you're using the badge film, or another thing that you can use is water soluble. You can use water soluble backing. If you remember the Gucci jacket episode that we made, all those patches were made with water soluble backing. The patch was made, so let's make believe that this was the water soluble backing right there. You just dunked it, and then it all dissolved, and all you were left with is the thread, and you put the glue on it, stuck it on the jacket, and that was it. So you can also use water soluble backing for a substrate to hold your patch together, because it's almost like a freestanding lace when you use the water soluble. Okay. You could paint it with permanent marker and then burn. Listen, Sharpies are your friends. In the world of embroidery, Sharpies are your friends, because if you ever have an area where the colors didn't quite meet or the border didn't quite match, you can always take that little Sharpie and just kind of fill it in. The polyurethane thread absorbs it. It doesn't wash off. So you can wash after wash and it's going to be good. Uh, if you ever get some stitches show through, you can always just kind of touch it up. So there are thread markers designed just for that. They come with a very fine tip, so that in case in case the stitches don't run correctly, you can always just kind of color them out. They are really, really cool. So let's go back to this for a second. We're back on Chroma Lux. You can set clear acetate on top with border stitch to keep it clean and new looking. You can do that too. There's so many things you can do. You can do so many things. So I was going to show you here let's go to F7 for the shortcut. What was the question? All right, so John Farhat says, what's the best way to make a heat application for a patch? What backing would you use? So most patches are made with twill because it's a very sturdy back. It's a sturdy backing and it doesn't compress. So it doesn't succumb to push-pull too much. So you don't have to be so aggressive with it. I wouldn't make a patch out of jersey fabric. I wouldn't make a patch out of linen. I would make it out of water soluble. I would make it out of the badge film. I would make it out of twill. You could use applique and kind of do all of them together. Um, Once you have the backing, you can apply the glue to it. And really, if you put a piece of Teflon paper over the thread itself before you heat press it, you should be okay. Unless you're putting an excessive amount of heat on a patch, the polyester thread should hold it. Now, the backing that you use, or the glue, the adhesive that you use, make sure it's rated for a certain temperature. The lower the temperature, the better. That way you don't burn the thread. I have seen some patches under the heat press when they're just using the direct heat onto this without any type of substrate over it. They tend to get a little white and shiny. One thing that you could do also is you could turn the patch upside down, put your shirt or the material on top of it, and iron the inside of the shirt. That way the heat stays off the top and goes right to the glue. So that's another way. I made some shirts, school shirts for my son, and I had embroidered some patches. And instead of heating the patches this way, I inverted the shirt and I was able to heat it from the back, and it didn't do anything to the patch, and they stuck, and they're there. They're really good. So when you say acetate, you're talking about it all depends. The thickness of the acetate, it's for this patch I use 2 layers of the Badge Master film. So you can use quite a bit of layers if you want. Sometimes we have 4 layers of there's a water soluble poly mesh, there's a water soluble film that's very similar to the Badge Master film, but it's not. This is not water soluble, but the Badge Master film that is water soluble, you can put a layer of that. You can put 2 layers of poly mesh. We've put 4 layers and it goes right through it, not a problem. So somebody says that depending on the fabric and the thickness of the fabric, they put 3 to 6 inner linings. So your machine is industrial. It's very powerful. And even the creator will go through several layers of this material with no problem. So depending on how thick you want it, you can always add up, the layers to make it nice and beefy. And you can even pile up the water soluble under the twill so that once it's done, it's got all that stuff to grab onto. So there's many different ways to do it. And this felt itself is pretty thick. So, you can go crazy if you want. You can do as many as you want. And what glue do you recommend? There is a glue called it's by a guy in Texas. I forget the name of it, but it's durable adhesive. Durable adhesive. It's a really good adhesive that they make. and you can use it for leather patches. If you go to their website, they actually take a leather patch that they stuck to a hat and they peel the leather patch off the hat, and you can actually see that half the leather, the inner part of the leather, stayed on the hat, and the upper part came out. So it's strong stuff. There is Ultra Bond, but some people have said that the Ultra Bond leaves a residue. But you're welcome to try whichever one. I've used both; they both have worked. So it all depends what you want to do, what your budget is. The durable, you have to buy it by the yard. Ultra Bond, you can buy it at any Walmart, fabric store. They'll have it, accessible, so you can try it out. If you don't like it, you can always go get the durable online. Let's go back to this for a second, and I'm going to show you about the border. So here I have my circle. I'm going to right click. I'm going to convert it to a complex fill. Let's go back to our, let's make this turn white. We're going to go to our shapes again, and I'm going to make it red. Let's go to the shape. Oh, hold on a second. I got to click off of it. There you go. Now we're back at red. We're going to pick let's make a star. So we're going to hit the command key, pick our star, F7, so we hit the selector. Let's put it right on top, right in the center. We're going to right click. We're going to convert that to a complex fill. And if we zoom in, notice the edges are a little rough. Well, when we go to this one, the column tool or the general tool, we can change it from chisel to square, apply, and it's going to make the edges nice and sharp. We don't even have to put a border around this. Now, I do have two layers on top of each other. So let's say we were to make two stars. So I'm going to right click, copy, right click, paste. Let's make a star inside a star. This one let's make it blue. And I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. And let's recenter it. So in this case, I have three layers on top of each other: the blue, the red, and the white. So it's going to make it really, really thick. So what I could do in order to make it a little bit easier is if I click on the red one, I can right click and remove overlaps. Check it out. Boom. And I'm going to hit the blue. I could click on the blue, right click, and go to a utility and remove overlaps. Now check this out. It removed everything from the bottom, and now I have less material on top of it. The only thing you have to be careful when you do this is when you remove the overlap, it is going to cut it right there. So you may have to take this and increase it just a little bit bigger so that it can overlap the edges. So once you take the overlap out, you would have to increase the height of it just so that it overlaps, because you always want to overlap a little bit. Yes, Lone Star Adhesive, that's what it is. But I think it's Lone Star Adhesive is the company, but the durable is the actual thing that they do. I think the company is Lone Star Adhesive, but then the actual stuff is durable. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but yes, that's what it is. Lone Star. It's good stuff. Have I ever tried a Tara to die? Terra to die? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Have you tried embroidering on a Basque beret? Please try it. Thanks for the great program. I appreciate you, and I'll try it. I'll have to try it. I have never done that yet. I've done it on bucket hats and things like that, but I haven't done it. Let's see, what else are we talking about here? Oh, somebody says, Carl, I got interested in making patches when I saw the race jacket you made. Yes, that is an awesome jacket. All those patches were done with water soluble backing. So I had to digitize a nice base. So the base was a nice thick base with the tatame on top of it with all the letters and everything. And it came out great. We still have that jacket. It's great. I love it. It's one of my first projects, like really big projects here. I think that was my first video that I made, if I'm not mistaken. But it was super fun to make, and you can make a patch out of anything. It's super easy. Oh, somebody says, thank you for the suggestions that could be done in a Mighty Hoop. You can make patches in a Mighty Hoop? Yes, you can make patches in a Mighty Hoop. You can make patches using your 8-in-1 hoop. You can make patches using your the standard hoops. You can make patches using anything. As long as you can hold the material down, you can make patches with it. The Mighty Hoops make it really easy because they clamp down. You don't have to worry about the thickness and all that stuff. They just stick on everything. So it's really easy to make patches on that. So here in this example, You saw how I did the star, and here I can make my little red circle just a little bit bigger, or the red star rather. And let me move it back into position. And you always want to have a little bit of an overlap on your images because you do want them to bind together. You want them to grab each other and become one. So as long as you're overlapping, you're good to go. Okay? So here we have our star. We've got everything. And I could embroider this and it would be nice and thin. It wouldn't be too thick. This would be just perfect and it would work just fine. Remember that you want to test. Always test your designs before you go to your original material. Do it on backing first so that you don't waste material. And if you like it on the backing, you can always just cut it out and use it as a patch. You got a patch right there. You don't have to throw it away because the backing, remember, this is cutaway. You don't want to use tearaway. If you use tearaway backing to make a patch, it's going to rip itself right out of the machine and it's going to end up falling out on you. So don't use tearaway for patches. You can use a medium weight patch. You can use a medium weight patch, a medium weight stabilizer, or a heavyweight stabilizer to make your patch on. Like a good quality stabilizer, you can make it on that. You can you can do whatever you want on it, create a nice patch. You can cut the edges. And the cool thing about the medium weight stabilizer is that with a little uh, iron, a soldering iron, you can actually burn the edges. And you would cut it as close as you can, burn the edges, make them nice and tight, and they come out really good. We've got some really cool looking patches where we've just burnt the edges off and they're very nice. All you have to do is add the adhesive and that's it. So I want to thank you guys for having me in your homes. Let's see, what size Mighty Hoops do you recommend starting out? So Jasmine, Chauncey, it depends. What are you going to be doing? If you're going to be doing left chest logos, you can always buy the Mighty Hoop starter kit. It comes with a 5x5 Mighty Hoop, and that's going to do a lot of your designs. It's going to make a lot of patches, but you can only make one patch at a time. I recommend that if you're going to get those type of patches, you can get a 10x10 Mighty Hoop because then you can use it for other things. But you can a good start is with the starter kit. You get the 5x5, a 10x10 is good, and maybe one of a larger ones. So a set of 3 and you're good to go. You cover everything. All right. So guys, I want to thank you again for having me in your homes right now. I hope you learned a lot about making patches. Now it's just time to get out and make some patches. Make sure you follow the Chroma channel so that you can get all the latest videos that we're making. We're going to be making all sorts of videos. You guys are going to be learning so much. And the cool thing about the videos is you can always pause them, slow down, and you can just kind of play along. If you have 2 monitors, you can have one with Chroma, one watching the video. If you have one, you can just kind of go back between the screens. But thank you very much. Remember to leave any comments below. We'll try to answer all of them, and comment on the videos that we're making so that you can help us make the content that you want and that you're going to watch, okay? So we'll see you guys on the next video, on the next live. Thanks again.